Hello, everybody. Welcome to From Duendelvin. I'm Corbin. We're going to be exploring the world of Savarion. Here we have Jeff and Kyle.
Today we're talking about religion.
Yeah, we're talking about religion today. Alright, so where did we leave off last time for those who weren't here?
I'm not here. We didn't test this.
Uh-oh.
We're missing it, Kyle.
Alrighty.
Are you even plugged in?
Yes, sir. I'm plugged in.
I got this. I'll be right back. You guys...
Well, there's nothing for... No, you can't hear me.
You switch seats?
Here, come sit over here for a second.
Alright. Technical difficulties. Alright, so what did we talk about last time with religion?
What? You weren't watching? I'm just kidding. It's been a week. I understand.
It's been a week and I was doing something.
That was on
Got
our
it.
end. All right, come back.
Did it not get posted?
Did not get posted.
Uh-oh, that's a problem.
No, but
That's okay.
we're gonna cover...
We're going to cover it as if it had been posted.
Well, we can cover, the basics
Okay,
of
so
it.
watch this one and we'll release it later.
This one's live. So
Watch this one live.
Yeah.
Redlining.
Oh, no. I'm redlining. I'm loud. I'm really loud. Okay. There we go.
You had me
You
really
just
loud,
got a
too.
lot of
I didn't
cool
touch
things
it.
to say.
Okay. Alright, so we talked about the tenets of faith last time.
My presence just makes it noisy.
Just noisy presence.
You just increase the volume in a room. You're
I
like,
walk up and I turn it up to 11. It's an old reference to an old movie that was old when I was young. Anyway, yes, we're going to talk about the tenets because we talked.
Tenets. Okay,
We're going to
so
get.
the 8
Yeah.
tenets of faith are: it is an affront to the Horakai 2. Okay, all of them say it is an affront to the Horakai 2. So I'm just gonna do what it is.
no,
I'm going to hold up the one
Okay.
whenever we get to that point.
Fail in your proper worship of the gods.
Mhm.
Neglect those in your charge. Take a life without proper cause. Violate the right of ownership. Lie for personal gain. Unjustly break loyalty. Forgo your divine purpose. Seek racial isolation. Those are the tenets based on, or those are the
they're
tenets.
vague on purpose.
Yes, they are vague on purpose.
Not vague on purpose. Vague on
No,
purpose.
Vagog can purpose them, though, I guess.
Alrighty, so that's what we have. And then, did we cover the 4 empires? We haven't even talked about the 4 empires yet, so let's not.
A little bit.
So, it would be that in Garthia, they would have all 4
Representations.
representations at the Pantheon.
Is there like a
Place.
courthouse in the Pantheon?
It's not really a courthouse, no.
Something that would serve like...
There would be a courthouse system in the major point, but it wouldn't be part of the Pantheon.
No, but it'd be
Right.
around there.
Yeah, of course. It just wouldn't be-
Every major city has a
I
courthouse.
want to be represented by the
function.
head of Zayok.
Just because you know the deeper meaning of Zayok doesn't mean.
But if there was discrepancy in Garthia, Thernic's rule or standpoint would take.
Because it is
Priority.
the seat of Thernic, so it is the
Thernic is justice.
Thernic
is peace.
Peace, yeah.
Kettling is justice.
Peddling is justice.
So that's what the difference is you have a religion that you view through the whichever Horakai you choose to exonerate.
4 different glasses you can look through.
Exactly.
And you get a different picture from each of them. They're
got-
just all similar.
That's you got a dead skin hanging on your eye lid. Yeah, other one.
Other side.
Sorry. Heck yeah. It might even be fuzz. Could be fuzz. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was just like, oh my gosh, that's gonna bother me. Sorry. So, yeah, that's the fun part. When you become of age, you actually
a little bit.
a little bit more. Okay, down. When you come of age, you end up having a pilgrimage made. It's kind of at the expense of the church, where you go to Garthia, and you commit yourself to one of the 4 Horakai, and that's how you choose your standpoint on your religion. and that's how you choose
Can
the
you
lens
switch
you attend.
later in your life?
Yes, that is a thing that
You
you can
have
do.
to go to the law to switch it?
No, you don't have to actually make a mecca to try to switch. You can that your local church, but you have to first be like, yes, this is why I'm switching. And in order to be a judge, you have to have worked within 40 years minimum under the lens of each of the Horakai.
No, to become a vassal.
Sorry, Vassalarch. That's right, Vassalarch, not a judge.
So
Vassalarch.
you're never going to find a halfling judge because they do not live long enough.
Yeah, they do. They have 80 years.
You need to live 40 years
8,
under.
12, 16, 20, 24.
You said 40 years under
Four.
each.
4.
4 years.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
You-
that's what I was
I heard
confused.
40.
No, definitely 4.
So 16
be
and
at
1632. So at technically, theoretically,
At
at
middle
32
age.
years old, you could be a vassal.
If you started at the very beginning of your life.
Yeah, well,
At 16.
everyone does. Everyone starts at the beginning of their life at 16. They commit to a they commit to a god. You can't not commit to a god. That is a part of life at this point. That's part of
You
the tenet
can,
number
but
1.
God smites you.
Everyone does it. You can't, like, it's not a thing. Even the poorest village.
Well, the church pays for it.
Yeah, the church pays for even the poorest member of the village to travel to Garthia. Now you may die in the process because it's not a Savarion's not a happy place.
Well, and I mean, you could very logically
It's not just a bunch of
exist
happy
in
little
a way
accidents.
where you were part of a traveling group or whatever, where you didn't believe in it, and you didn't go.
Yeah.
that would
Heretics
logically
exist.
happen, but like,
Arcanus, filthy Arcanus.
but it wouldn't be a normal kind of a thing. So
Somebody gave me water.
Somebody gave me water. That was a solid joke. I like it. All right.
So, what else is there to religion that we have to make another episode? Or are we
So I
going
think we
into
were-
depth on
I think
the...
today we're gonna get into, was it Theranik and Zayok?
I think so. We're looking at the two technically
Well,
opposites.
let's talk about Theranik, and then we'll
Was it
see.
Theranik and Zayok, or was going to do? I thought we were going to do
Because
Cataline.
Cataline and Elios are clearly opposites.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about Theranik and Zayok
To make it easier.
they're not.
So
Yeah.
this
But
is the
there's
easy
nobody that's-
episode. The next episode is going to be very, very contradictory.
No, it's just like because there's like Cataline and Elios are clearly opposing ideas with justice and mercy.
Do those
whereas
two...
order and peace are not necessarily always conflicting ideas, but because Cataline and Elios are so easily contrasted, we figured we'd do the other two.
Does Cataline and Elios have, like, beef with each other, or do their
Heck no.
ideas just
No.
contradict?
All right. So behind the veil of sorts, right? The brothers don't give a flying hoot. They don't care about the world of mortals, other than the fact that they are now fulfilling their built purpose. No, hush. You don't get to talk. Bad phone. Okay, bad Kyle. They don't care so much how or what, as long as they are worshipped.
Oh,
Right.
no, I was just thinking, hey, I dislike you for this thing, so I'm going to be petty and put my thing as direct opposite of yours.
Oh no, it was intentionally
Think of
done
it
that
more.
way.
Think of it more like the tenets are intentionally vague. The four gods intentionally do things that could easily interpret themselves differently from each other. So if I follow Cataline and you follow Elios, we're going to butt heads and argue with each other. That means that the mortals are going to stay in this constant, what do the gods actually want? And they're going to stay out of my business.
Yep.
Because I don't want to, I just want to be the god.
Horakai
Right, on a-
tossed the kids an iPad and said, "Leave me alone."
So, so they methodically just stir the pot.
They don't have to other than
They
sending.
set something to stir the pot constantly.
Mhm, there you go.
Yes. That would be
They,
the,
that's the best way to put it. Excellently,
And then they
excellently
left.
stated.
yeah.
And every now and again, they submit the heralds to go out there. Except for one country gets the heralds every death of a monarch. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have
'cause
that.
It's order.
We'll talk
Zayok.
about that. Zayok sends it. No, it wasn't Zayok, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Was it? Yeah.
Zayok.
Oh, that's
Okay,
unfortunate.
so Theranik,
Every time
the
someone
head.
dies, they're like, dragon, go.
The leader of that country. Yeah, we will talk about that empire.
Theranik, the leader of the Horkai, the head of the Horkai, and the one that if there's an unyielding of anybody and can't solve it, it always defaults back to what Theranik says.
Unless it's contract law.
Unless it's contract law, which
What is
we'll get
contract
into
law?
contract. I guess we'll get into contract law before we get into the covenants of faith.
We don't have to.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So contract law supersedes covenant law in so much as because you have directly agreed to this.
Yep.
And the assumption is if you sign a contract, you have taken into consideration your covenant. So if I follow Theranik and I sign a contract, I'm agreeing to something even if it kind of goes against my faith because I've considered it before even signing it. But contract law is the strongest form of law. So if I say, like, I'm going to pay you $100 over the next year, solid essence, over the next year, by the time 1 year has passed, I will have paid it, or I break the covenant, or I break the contract, and then we have a, if not, this happens kind of a thing, right? And so I have 1 year to pay it back, or, you know, or I suffer
stealing.
the consequences.
It might be your only resort.
However you pay it back is entirely up to you, but you are then required to pay back 100 solid essence over the year.
Right.
So the means within which you do that, and if it's true, if you get caught stealing and you're incarcerated and are unable to, the contract doesn't care what the reason you couldn't fulfill it was. It just, you cannot fulfill this contract. You will suffer the negatives.
So, in the sense of if a Elios follower contracted to protect someone by any means necessary, and the only way to do that is to get rid of someone else's mercy, like to deny mercy.
Mercy can be granted through killing. That's not
Well,
exclusive.
but he's saying that, like, if I signed a contract that said, under any circumstance, I will protect you,
And
like, that
if-
supersedes
Yes,
my mercy.
Absolutely. So if you signed a
Okay.
contract to protect a caravan and one of the bandits said, I'm begging for mercy, but you, like, you'd have this conflict only in the fact of, okay, well, I fulfilled my duty of the contract. I have protected this caravan. I can show you mercy and go. However, if there is concern that, say, it's a bandit leader, this bandit leader is going to go back out, build it up, then someone else is like, no, you're in violation of the contract, end them. And then you're beholden to the contract holder who determines the dictation of how it's executed.
Right.
So, yeah, the caravan master would be like, no, he has to die. And you'd have to execute him.
And so what you do, so this is falling into the mundane magic. We're actually introducing this as mundane magic. What you do is you poke yourself with a pen, like a
So it's a small, like, needle. You needle yourself and drop blood in the inkwell.
into the ink with the other person who's signing the contract, or however many people are signing the contract. You dip the ink and then you write the contract and sign it with your blood is in the ink. And so what that does with mundane magic, what we're doing is it binds the contract. Okay, so you roll it up and you seal it, and then you hand it to the Vassilark. Any Vassilark around the world, right? And so we're introducing another group under the Vassilark. So this won't need a whole lot of information, but we're introducing the Vassilark Protectorate. It is an organization that you give your contract to that are duty bound to uphold the contract.
Yep.
So if you break the contract, like if you and I signed a contract and you broke it, that scroll would light up, and then I'd open it and it would highlight your name
Kyle would come get us.
as the breaker, right? As the breaker. And then as the protectorate, would take that scroll and now be able to see you, like you would light up. to
So
him.
they're
Not like a bright light, but you would glow. And then he would carry out whatever the punishment of that contract is to you. That's how the magic.
so they're Soulbreaker Inquisitors.
Soulbreaker Inquisitors?
Or not Soulbreaker. Contract breaking breaker Inquisitors.
They're not. No, 'cause
They're not Inquisitors.
Inquisitors are going out to seek the truth. They're punishing. So this isn't an Inquisition.
Right.
Inquisition's a little different. This is literal lawmen. This is what you would have as a. Oh gosh.
They're police officers.
No, because they don't even. They're more like, okay, you haven't seen Judge
They're
Dredd.
they're literally just the
Enforcers.
carry out of.
Yeah.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that our contract says if I break the contract, my house gets burned down.
Someone's
Right?
going to burn that house down.
I break the contract. A vassal art protector is going to show up to my house and burn it down. That's his job, and he is duty bound by his, because contract law supersedes all the other laws. A protectorate can logically say that's the punishment. I'm going to carry it out. It doesn't matter. There's no moral
Nope.
complication.
It's a
If
Zayak
you're
follower
supposed to
who's-
die because you break it, he'll kill you.
Yep.
If your house burns down, he'll burn it down. If he's supposed to take everything that you own that has any value, he will.
Yep, he will rob you blind, but it's not robbing.
It's not robbing because it's contract law.
repossessing the equipment
Right.
and stuff that you have acquired.
Right?
Well,
If
'cause
you
you
signed
forfeit
the
it when you
death
broke
warrant of
that.
your first child, he would kill your first child.
Yep.
There's no mercy, order, peace, justice, whatever. It doesn't matter because it's contract. It supersedes.
And
So,
so-
it's moral hierarchy that we've been talking about with, like, everything has the moral hierarchy, right? The highest moral hierarchy is honoring your contract.
Entering a contract is a very serious thing.
Is there a way to do a contract of I will at some point in my life?
Nope, there has to be a time clause, potentially. Now, if there is a contract mistake and there's no time clause, we've talked about this. Like, okay, my great-grandfather wronged you, and then for generations we are paying for this family because there's no time limit on that contract. Eventually, you can actually take that to an adjudicator, but let's have a different title for it. We'll call it adjudicator for now, who looks at that contract and says, yep, nope, I declare this fulfilled. You would effectively go into contract law and be like, look, there's no timer on this. This is not okay. We've been paying for 4 generations. I believe we have fulfilled the letter of the contract.
Well,
They
and if
can
you break the
honor it.
contract, but your name's not on it, you wouldn't light up. So a protectorate wouldn't be able to carry out the punishment on you.
Yep.
But it's illegal to not put your name, your correct name, on that
Well,
thing.
yeah, you'd sign your real name, but also because you sign in blood. So it doesn't
the
matter
magic
what
doesn't
name you
care.
signed on there.
Oh, so
they're
if you
going to
don't
find
sign
you.
it, then you're not.
And the contract isn't officiated and you're
So
not bound.
it's not a generational thing. It can't be passed down. Like here's my
Unless
debt.
you also sign the contract and then your generation signs the contract. And if
Right.
that is written that way, then at the death of an individual, the ecclesiarch, which vassal trying to do the bad word backwards, the vassal arch would show up and then enforce the signature of the next generation. If that's the requirement of the law,
Okay.
the contract law.
So that's contract law.
Oh yeah, that's what
That
Zayak lives.
supersedes the tenets and covenants of faith.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So now getting into the
okay,
Thernic
so
of
let's get
peace.
into Thernic. Okay, so the covenant statement for Thernic is, in all I do, I promote harmony. I am the hand of peace. And so, how did I say it last night? I don't know what we were talking. Okay, so think about peace. When you consider peace, you think about at rest, right? Things are peaceful when they are at rest. So, in order to follow harmony and peace and Thernic, your primary concern would be what puts us at the most amount of rest, right?
Would
What
it be rest or sanctity?
rest?
Okay.
It would be rest. And
Good
so,
question.
a lack of conflict
Yep.
would be the easiest way to.
If there is conflict, it will be the fastest way to resolve that conflict, whether it's right, wrong, or ridiculous. Kind of like our pokey pokers that
Sorry.
not ring will rattle.
I kept bumping.
Well, so with Thernic, it's a I don't care how the fight ends, but I want it to end
Yes.
now.
The fastest way to end the conflict is going to be Thernic's way.
Nuclear bombs.
So, we don't have nuclear bombs, but if the fastest way to end conflict is to eradicate an entire village, that village is going down, Thernic style. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is within the purview of Thernic's viewpoint of
You
peace.
just need a new term, and it's just Bukoit.
So, I mean, you,
She is a nuclear reactor. Oh gosh.
right. But when you think about the covenant and tenets of faith, right? It's an affront to the Horakai to fail in your proper worship of the gods. So your Thernic worshippers are going to be your most peaceful. Like when you if you were to like look out into the crowd and look for like a group of Theranic, they're going to be the ones that are like
Reserved.
kumbaya, like super reserved, peaceful. You know, probably maybe even sitting down. You know, that kind of like mentality.
It's not peaceful to stand.
Oh, like they wouldn't be
Well,
bouncing.
but
They're
it's
gonna
at
be
rest.
yeah. They're gonna even if they're walking in a very like
Calm
flowing
way?
water. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're flowing water that's very calm and very like
So are they the hippies? of
yes,
Savarion?
kind of are warlike hippies. It doesn't really fit because hippies aren't supposed to be warlike. They're supposed to be anti-war, but they're
They
whatever.
are anti-war, but when
No.
war, no?
they're whatever achieves peace the fastest.
Yeah, so they won't cause unnecessary war, but when it starts, they'll end
Unnecessary,
it.
true.
Yeah.
But like he was saying, if there's a whole town that like everyone is just disrupting the peace constantly, burn the town down and everybody in it.
Everybody in it. That's
kill 'em
peace.
all.
Yep. For the
Wipe 'em out.
In the
yeah.
sake of peace, everyone dies.
Like you could logically argue that from
Yep.
a Thermic standpoint. So
So yeah, that's
Leave no one standing.
And in contrast, you have the Zaok side, which is order, because they don't care how peaceful it is as long as things maintain. I think we talked about it a little bit. Like order can be the greater good for all. Like in order to maintain order, I don't care that you commit atrocity. I don't care that you're rabble rousing. Your town provides a much needed rest point from point A to point B, and to break the order of things here would be detrimental. So we leave it alone. And in that regard, you can have conflict between Zaok and Theranic.
Don't touch my town. They're disruptive, but we need it.
so,
Yeah.
so Zaok is the covenant is, and all I do, I promote stability.
Stability,
And
not order.
It is
more
both.
stability than order.
Well,
So would they be more neat freak or more?
they'd be well kept, well maintained. Everything would be like their uniforms would be pristine.
Think about a household,
Yep.
right? To have both parents in the home is stable. Even if one of the parents is abusive, it's stable, right? And so
People will. Sorry, there's a question there. We can get to that in just a second. Let's finish the thought.
and so in that situation, if you were a Thernic follower, you would want to take out the parent that was abusive
Because that's not peaceful.
because that's not peaceful. But in Zaok, you would require them to stay
Because that's a
regardless
stable
because it's stability.
house.
Yep. Even
Exactly.
if they're like behind closed doors, they're creating complications. However, outside, they're maintaining a pillar for that community.
Yeah.
Well, even if they're not, I mean, having
Both parents
both
at
parents show up after work every day, or one parent is at home cooking and cleaning and one parent is going to work, it wouldn't matter what the parents were doing or whether or not they were abusive. What would matter is whether or not they showed up.
home.
Whether or not
They
they were
were
doing their
consistent.
job.
Right.
Now, not to say that like abuse is condoned. That's not
For
at all.
sure.
Yeah.
People, yeah.
No, even for Zayak people, like you, like because that is an actual direct violation of a tenant that you were required to. It is an affront to the Horakai to abuse those under your care.
To neglect them.
Yeah, to neglect
Sure.
and to abuse them is neglect, a type of neglect.
Yeah, okay.
So that would be a huge violation of the tenants, in which case they would no longer be maintaining order because they'd be violating the tenants that they were required to uphold. So we use that as an extreme example. However, abuse would not be tolerated. It would be a violation of the order of things.
Well, and that, again, like, we left it open so that it could be interpreted
You
openly.
could fit things in there like
what is determined as abuse would also vary based on who's in charge.
well,
and
if
which
you were
country.
like in like our terms of abuse, if you're abusive to your kids to get them in order, would that be considered okay?
well,
Which depends on what the
under
abuse is.
Zayak, that wouldn't be considered abuse.
Nope.
Because if I was attempting
It would be
to
corrective.
correct your behavior so that you were in line,
Some corrective action through physical exertion.
right? It wouldn't matter how much effort I put into it or how violent or angry or whatever harmful I was to, it wouldn't matter because my goal is order. And as long as I'm pushing him to that, it wouldn't matter to what level of extreme I went to.
As long as it didn't take their life.
Right.
Or cause them to a point where they could no longer take care of themselves.
And so abuse would be viewed differently by Zayak than it would by Elios.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Which is something fun. So the question we have from our man in the chair is the Zayak followers, would they be builders
I think that's a racial thing.
No,
Personal
they
preference.
Personal preference.
But it
They
would
wouldn't
not,
necessarily be builders.
like, you would have that in all categories of everything.
I think the stability part of it is a society functioning, not like actual stability.
It could be. I mean, you could be a builder and you could choose to follow Zayok's viewpoint because you like that order, structure, stability, and that translates directly into your building. So yeah, I mean, there's that.
When you walk
but
into
that's
a
the
symmetrical town, that's a Zayok town.
But again, so for the sake of understanding, because we're telling the whole story, behind the veil again.
Yep.
Zayok's real purpose is chaos.
Absolute.
Right? And so he actually promotes the idea that chaos causes
Order.
in the long run. So his followers are going to do things that look
Like order.
chaotic.
Yeah. Or sorry, yeah.
They look chaotic for the sake of order.
Yep.
I guess would be the right way to do that.
If they were to truly follow his doctrines, his herald is one of the most terrifying heralds in the way that it
Right.
operates, because it loves to meddle in mortal affairs by effectively utilizing persuasion to cause awful things to happen.
Right. And it's horrible. And Zayok's whole ideology is, I'm doing this, and while it seems chaotic, the purpose is
Order.
to create order
for the
and
greater good.
stability. It is for the greater good, for the greater stability long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so, true followers, the closer you would get to Zayok, the more your actions would feel
Joker-ish.
chaotic.
You'd feel kind of like the Joker.
Yeah,
A little bit, except they would all come down to a singular goal, which
Well,
the Joker does.
it depends on which version of the Joker. Dark
Okay.
Knight Joker, probably not.
No, well, Dark Knight
But
Joker. New Joker now, too, is supposedly the embodiment of chaos as a whole.
Would it be closer to Riddler? Because the things he did were chaotic, but they all had a single purpose.
no, more like the cartoon Jokers.
The Riddler's
Where
not
it
a bad
felt
choice,
like there
though.
wasn't, but there was always this like grand plan in the background.
His grand plan was always to get Batman to break the hat, like to kill, because he wanted to break the show to the world that virtue can't consist or can't persist. That Batman's morals are not absolute. That was it. That's the whole purpose.
But
We're
that would be
yeah.
that would be
a
the
Zayok.
order,
Yep. The
right?
order
And
is.
so the way he carries it out just feels crazy.
But then kind of, yeah, like the Riddler does the same thing, but from a different lens. The Riddler is legitimately building these elaborate shenanigans all for the order, all within the lens of order for his schemes, because he's compelled to do so because he's insane.
Man, Gotham's got some messed up people.
Gotham is a terrible place. That's why we don't live there.
I think
It's also not real.
What?
That happens.
I think the DC universe is just a terrible place.
Well, I mean, there's that long-standing joke that Superman in one of the short comics, Bruce gets sick, and then Superman goes and covers down in Gotham, and he's like, "I hate you. No, never again. Please no." This is like not even the Killing Joke one. Okay, my bad. Back to it.
Spider-Man.
No, we're practically out of time.
That's fair.
So Ian started our timer late. Good job.
Congrats.
That's okay.
It's okay. I'm keeping track of time.
No worries. And then we have, so that's two of the lenses that you can view the world through.
Yes.
We didn't even get to like how you
Two
can interact
of the
with
four
tenants.
that you're allowed to view the world through.
Yes,
that you
There's
have to
four
commit
that
to.
you're allowed to.
Yeah.
There are other ways to look at it, but
real
these
quick,
are the
well,
ones that are
the
allowed.
Zayok, the nation that follows Zayok.
Oh yeah, they have the herald that comes down and chooses who rules once that ruler passes on, because they're chosen by a worthy god. Like the god chooses who's worthy.
Right.
So they have a perch for the dragon that legit comes down, and they present people to him, and the dragon can just randomly be like, "Nah, that one."
And the dragon does.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Kung Fu
choose.
Panda it and like
Kind
nah,
of.
that guy in the corner.
Totally.
Totally Kung Fu Panda.
Well,
did.
and it feels random, but there's order to it. There's a purpose to it, and Zayok's purpose is chaos. And so whoever's going to be like most closely in line with that chaotic feel to an underlying order is going to get chosen. And so it might be some like peasant out in Nowheresville farming, and he's like, that one, bring her to me. You're the new queen. Like that would happen.
And then he'd be like, "What? Why?
Get
What is
over
happening?"
here.
Yeah, only without the spirit of the chest.
No, it's just a dragon summoning you.
And honestly, yeah, no, the dragon's speech would be powerful enough that it could persuade that person with just the voice to present themselves to the dragon. I mean, it's kind of entertaining because, yeah, anyway, we won't go into that at all right now because it's too much, and we are out of time. So, guys,
Where's Sally going?
like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. We're still plugging in. We're still going to give you more about how Savarion is and how it behaves and what we do. And
Go to Kickstarter.
yes, Kickstarter.
And we're doing stuff. Things are happening.
We've got another project already in the works.
Did you just drop that?
I did just drop that we have another project in the
have
works.
another
We're doing something.
We have another
We're not
project in
going
the
to tell
works.
anything else about it.
Not till it drops.
No, I want to say one more thing about it.
Okay.
Sophie's actively working on it.
Hey!
We're doing a podcast right now.
I made it first.
That's true. That's
This
weird.
originated with Corbin.
Yep.
So,
Like, what, 8 years ago?
something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to bounce.
All right.
We're over time.
So we're going to be dropping a video Thursday.
Yep. We'll have
And we'll be live Tuesday, 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time.
Mountain Standard.
All right.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.